Hello, this is Neo and welcome to another motorcycle feature. So right in front of you is the Moto Guzzi V85 TT, and this is the Dakar inspired adventure bike by Moto Guzzi, and today we will be using it. So thank you first to Sir John, to Sir Carl for letting me borrow this bike. And as you can see, this bike has a huge history for traveling. They have FJ Moto Enduro Mountain Cross. Okay, so for the left side hand controls, you have your clutch lever that has 4 levels of adjustability. You have your passing light. You have your cruise control button. You have a very unique turn signals button. It is just one button, but it functions in multiple ways. And then you have your horn. And then going to the right side, you have your lights control. I just keep it on the highest setting. And then you have your hazard switch. You have your mode controls, but actually what I was doing is I was just cycling through the menu using this button. And then you have here your kill switch. And then you have your starter. Here's the TFT display. As you can see, it's quite similar to the ones used by the RS660 Aprilia, and yeah, they share the same technology. So the display here has your tachometer, it has your speedometer, so your fuel range, your odometer reading. This is supposedly the time, and then you can cycle through the menu. On the upper left side, you have your fuel gauge, and then on the lower left side, you have your ambient temperature. So also, this includes a USB Type A port here where you can charge your devices. And I'd like to note, this is the previous model. There's a newer model where there's a different switch and updated TFT display. So here it only has the 4-inch TFT display. The new one has like a more minimalistic and cleaner look and is a lot bigger. I think it's 5 inches big now. So for all of the lighting, you have LED. And for the headlight, you can see here, this is the iconic Mandello Eagle that is serving as well as the daytime running light. So for the taillights design, this is something similar to the end part of jet engine turbines. So yeah, it's really cool looking. Going here, you can see that it doesn't have a chain drive, but it's actually a shaft drive. And then for the seat height, my height is 5'6" with a 30-inch inseam, so it's kind of higher than usual. And then they said that this is already the low seat height. So my height is 5'6" with a 30-inch inseam, so expect this bike to be really tall. Once I get to balance the bike, I can just sort of tiptoe on one end and then kind of tilt the bike like that. So this bike is actually easy to steer, but if you're pushing the bike around, it's going to be quite challenging. Okay, so one of the properties of the transversal V-twin engine is its iconic wiggle when you start the bike. So let's start the bike. So let's just warm it up a bit and then let's have the ride review. So welcome to the ride review of the Moto Guzzi V85 TT. So first of all, I'd like to start with the heritage of Moto Guzzi itself. They started at 1921 and they even surpassed the 100 years mark. So they have a very rich history. So right now I'm bringing the V85 TT. So this has the transverse 90-degree V-twin engine. So it's not the conventional V-twin where it's aligned with the frame of the motorcycle itself. So there are 3 benefits in having a transverse 90-degree engine. It's the ease of access when you're maintaining the engine, especially when adjusting the valves and checking them, because it's easily accessible on the side of the bike. And the second one is, thanks to its positioning, the center of gravity or the overall balance of the weight of the bike is balanced. And next up, in connection to the placement of the engine, is the way that it's getting cooled, because the cylinder heads are like popping out. This has better cooling compared to those traditional ones or conventional ones. So one of the challenges is, this being kind of large, is filtering through traffic. And as you can see, the side mirrors are kind of poking out and is sort of in line with other SUVs or AUVs that you can see like that. So it's a bit of a challenge, and my height is only 5'6" with a 30-inch inseam. So during traffic, during heavy traffic and tight ones, there's a challenge in filtering. Going back to the engine, there's a lot of character for this one, even though right now we can't really actually hear it, but the sound is really unique. And not only the sound, it's the overall characteristics of the engine itself. So to add to that is the transmission of this. So unlike usual bikes, this poses a charm to people who were used to older bikes. So if you've grown or have started using a modern motorcycle, you may be alienated with the feeling of riding this one, because everything feels really raw. And what I mean by raw is like you can feel all of the mechanical things that you usually use. So additional to that, shafts, or the drive shafts as well. So there's an additional factor to the very mechanical feeling of it. And next to the mechanical feeling is, this is the part where I'm not going to complain about it, but whenever you shift, you can actually feel the clunk of the transmission, especially on lower speeds and in lower gears. But once you get to the higher RPMs, that's where the real character of the bike comes in. So since we're going at a usually higher speed, I can say for the windscreen, it's sufficient enough, and I like the height of it. And for me, I like how it doesn't feel so hot even riding it at a slower pace. Again, the characteristics of this bike may be something that is acquired, so it's an acquired taste for liking this bike. It's not for everyone, but for those who really like this DIY repairs, DIY maintenance, having a classic look, and having an overall classic feeling in riding as well, and the characteristics of the engine. And like I said, it has a very strong sense of character, and even road presence as well. Now for the suspension, I have no complaints. It doesn't feel tiring and doesn't feel like you're getting rocked by the suspension whenever you're braking hard or you're accelerating really hard. So that's fine for me as well. And for the height, again, I think it's something that I can get used to. So I'm balancing more with just one leg. This is not the most confidence inspiring in terms of seat height, especially for Asian heights like me. Again, for the positioning of the engine, thanks to it, the cooling is rather more effective, even though this is air cooled. So I'm kind of impressed, because before I had an impression if the engine is air cooled, it tends to get hotter, especially long durations or whenever you're stuck on higher RPMs. But of course, this is not free from engine heat, so I can feel a little bit of engine heat coming to my legs. So speaking as well, the RPM redlines at 7,000, and you won't really actually see it on the TFT display because it's like a shaded part. So I believe the bike doesn't like it when you reach that higher RPMs, but on the optimal ones, you can feel how good the engine is. And I would like to go back to vibrations. So even if you're in the higher RPMs, the vibrations is not that brutal to the point that it's uncomfortable. Unfortunately, this still has the stock pipe or the tailpipe, so you won't actually hear it. But once you're the guy riding it, you can feel the character, you can hear the engine. But of course, for me, I'd like it to be more present. And what I mean by present is you can hear the engine more. For the weight of the clutch lever, it's on the firmer side, so there's a bit of struggle, especially on heavy traffic. And for the brakes, yes, it's really effective. I like it. Especially it has Brembo brake calipers in the front, dual disc, and at the back you have a single disc, which is fairly effective as well. So besides that, I like the balance of the engine's characteristic. It can go from spirited riding, or you can just go chill, and the bike can provide that for you. You can see here how I can tightly turn the bike. So that's an example. It's actually easy U-turning, but again, because of my size, I really need to lean forward a bit so I can actually utilize the whole range of the steering. So the steering is really wide, so when you turn on the bike, there's like the eagle crest on the front that lights up automatically, but you can also still adjust it depending on the need. But for me, I just leave it on to the max setting. And then for the passing light, there's sufficient lighting, but just in my opinion, a couple of auxiliary lights or driving lights is going to add a lot more for comfort and for better visibility with this bike. The characteristics of this bike is something that you don't really love at first. And like I said before, it's like an acquired taste because you don't see this kind of bikes very often, and the design language of this is very unique, even for me as well. I don't see this kind of designs much anymore. And yeah, given the transverse engine, it's already unique. So this has a 22-liter fuel tank, and then my mileage, I computed it, I was able to get 19 kilometers per liter. Okay, so weird enough for this bike, there's a mode here, but for some reason I was not able to figure out how to change the ride mode.
Road, rain, off-road. And then if it's not blinking, it means the ride mode is active.
So of course there's a little bit of nitpicks for me. So starting off is this is a 4-year-old bike, so there's a bit of wear and tear. So one of I noticed is the throttle grip is melting. So I'm not sure about the history of this one, but it's an easy fix. Next one is, this is not a deal breaker for me, but when you pull on the clutch, the gear indicator disappears, and actually when you're shifting, there's a bit of delay for it to appear. So let me show you. So I'm currently at 2nd gear. When I shift to 3rd gear, there's a bit of a delay, but in all honesty, if you're familiarized with the riding, you won't really care when it's gonna pop on. Next up, this is something on my end as well. Because of the bikes being tall, the amount of maneuverability that I can do with this bike is limited. And then next is the side mirrors are kind of poking out too much. As you can see here, it's kind of aligned with the side mirrors of SUVs. Okay, next up is the seat. If you've noticed that it is made out of suede, so it absorbs droplets of water when it gets rained on. So yeah, I think it's self-explanatory that it's going to dry up a lot longer, that it needs to have a lot longer time to dry up, and then actually doesn't deflect rainfall. Overall, what I can say about this bike is it's an acquired taste. If you've come from a modern motorcycle and then you jump into this, I can say that you may be alienated by the looks of it, the feels of it, and how it actually performs overall. And I also can say that there's a large fan base for the Moto Guzzi and the V85 in particular because of its reliability. There are some other people that say it has questionable reliability, but I think from my experience, it will just keep on running whatever you do to it. So yes, I've enjoyed it. And then some say that they want a quick shifter for this one, but in my honest opinion, this kind of bike doesn't need it, because you want to feel every shift that you do without any electronic interference to the bike or to the overall experience. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. This is the end of the episode. If you have any questions for the Moto Guzzi V85 TT, please feel free to share it down below. And if you like this episode, please feel free to like it and subscribe to the channel as well. Again, this is Neo. As always, ride safe and see you on the road.